Try and harass a little girl? We'll make it our life's mission to end your life. A man in his 20s decided to intimately harass a teenager, and eventually, because he did not improve his behavior after I told a school counselor and teacher he could say goodbye to a future anytime soon and now has to pay back thousands of euros to the government, has lost his house, as well as has no education to fall back upon. Besides that, he won't be able to study for a long time. It started in my second year. I had a new friend in that college and enjoyed being around her whenever we had a break. She was one of the silent and shy girls, which I did not mind. I am one that has patience and do not mind having not too many conversations. On one of the breaks I met one of her friends, a man that was in his early 20s. I shall name A. A was kind of creepy, but as I tend to be just a friendly and calm girl, I decided to just act like I would always do. Friendly but firm in my boundaries. I shall not describe too much of his introduction, but let's say he immediately started talking about intimacy, which in my opinion is highly inappropriate. I do not tend to talk about those things with people I have met just 5 seconds ago, especially if they are the opposite gender. Well, I decided to ignore him and just talk about different things and not react on his inappropriate comments about girls and ladies. He really felt like one of those guys that feels better than females, and thinks that they are alive to serve him. Well, not me, no thanks. He decided that since I was a girl, I had no right in boundaries, which made me really uncomfortable to say the least. As I was no experienced in this kind of behavior from a man, I tried my hardest to find a way in which I could defend myself against him. He would make intimate remarks such as, "You have to have intimacy with me, I am the best in that. Females like me." Nope. I don't. But hey, he did not want to hear that. He then would describe his intimate behaviors, which I won't mention because too much information. I am patient and would only again tell him to back up and that I was not interested in any way, shape or form in him and would appreciate it if he would accept that I would never be into him in such a way. Well, I hoped it would be a one-day thing, or a one-time thing, and he would just leave me alone after that. I did not trust him and would always keep an eye out for him, especially since most girls were younger than me. He was not that easily to evade. I would see him once or twice a week during a break and my shy and silent friend would mostly just be into her phone and not listen to him. Which made him even worse. I once warned him that I would eventually be pressured into taking stronger measures and would not think twice if I needed to kick his ass to have him stop making intimate remarks and touching my knees and shoulders. I had not given him any signs that it would be alright to do so. He laughed. "You're just a little girl, you wouldn't dare." I would, but decided that I would only physically defend myself if I had no other option. Since he was at least twice as heavy as me. Well, after about 3 weeks he started to follow me to the ladies' bathroom. He would try to push me against lockers or block me from moving. All of those I managed to sidestep or just stay inside the bathroom until he left or until I had another girl with me. At times I would push him away with my elbow and just ignore him, hoping that ignoring would be a better tactic than trying to voice my boundaries, since that had not worked. I also did not show any fear and would just laugh and talk and stay around others at most times. 2 months into this and I had figured out a way to keep him away from me most of the time. He would still occasionally try to touch me, but I would ignore him and it seemed to become less frequent. I hoped I would have enough patience. The reason I was not really fighting is because I did not really trust people because of nasty/abusive situations in other areas of my life. Looking back on it, I would not have waited so long to plan a revenge or just kick his ass and be done with it. Then one day he approached me from behind, and as I was tired because of a nightmare, I had not heard him approach me. I had a railing on one side of me, a table in front of me and him around me. He touched my breasts and was hugging me and pushing his little thing against me through the chair. I was horrified and decided that I had enough of him. I however had no way to move and had to keep him busy with his mind to ensure he would not be able to gauge my reaction. I kept talking, telling him to back up as loudly as I could, but none of the other people around took action. Then I elbowed him through my chair into his belly, and turned around and told him in an icy voice, "This was your last chance to behave appropriately, and start listening to little girls when they say no." He backed off for a few weeks after that and could not look me in the eye. Around that time I was put in a WhatsApp group with friends which I tended to ignore. What I did not know was that he was in that app group as well, since he knew a few of my friends. He excused himself for his behavior and promised me not to do it ever again and started to lay low for about a month. Then he messaged me in private on my phone in the middle of the night, started to become stalk-like and even tried to text me. I was annoyed and blocked him. Next day he became angry and aggressive and I told him that I had been clear and he should have known I would take action. He again tried to follow me, scare me and so on and so forth. You name it. He tried and I would always be one step ahead. What he did not know was that I from experience knew that I had to gather evidence, and that was the reason I was that patient and allowed him to keep pushing the boundaries. The more he did it in the app, for example, the more proof I had to show my teachers and get him into trouble at school. The last straw was when I saw him trying to touch a 16-year-old. I messaged a school counselor and asked him to meet me on school for a conversation since something had happened that had to be dealt with. He came the next day. When he only heard the half of one sentence, he knew enough and asked me to get my mentor involved in the conversation. My mentor was horrified and they did not even ask for proof, since they told me they had heard about someone kicking a boy and knew that I would never do such a thing unless I had been provoked. They also got the right people involved and asked me what I thought would be the right thing moving forward. I told them that he had to learn, not only be punished, he had to learn and work towards bettering himself. Instead of throwing him out of school immediately, I told them to give him a few good talking tos and keep an eye on him and allow him the opportunity to learn from this as well as keep me and the other students safe. I also felt that if he was just thrown out, He would not have a reason to improve his behavior and no one would be there to keep an eye on him and he would just harm other girls. They told me that if they even heard one word about him that was slightly negative, he would be a goner. From that day onward he hated me because I was the only one daring enough to put him into that much trouble that he now had eyes on him at all times. And one wrong move would destroy his entire future, because it would mean he would have to pay back loans for studying, not have an education and no house to live in. A year or so later I saw him in school and he wanted to talk with me. I told him that I was not interested in ever seeing him again, and he should at least keep 6 meters distance from me or I would defend myself. He asked me if he was a creep and I really looked at him incredulously before stating that it was obvious that he was a creep in my opinion. He then started to talk to me while a few of my friends who by now knew about his behavior and a part of those were boys, kept an eye on him. They had all promised me to teach him a lesson the way men do when they had to defend a woman or girl. Well, he started with, "I have been thrown out of school. This week is my last week. I have to gather my stuff and will not finish my education. I have to pay back thousands and thousands of euros, will lose my home because I can not longer pay for it and will have no money to start another education. Can you tell the teacher that you lied and give me the opportunity to finish my education?" I really started laughing. "What do you think?" He looked at me. "No?" I smiled coldly. "No is the right answer. You see, you want me to lie about something that we both know has happened. We both know that I had to kick you to stop you from doing something that no one would think was right to do." And he nodded and even said what he had done in front of all our peers because he was pressured into it by the way I spoke to him. Well, I will not go down for you, so I would say good luck finding a job and figuring out something. Long story short, it took a year of learning and him understanding he was in the wrong, before he made a mistake again and could say goodbye to a future anytime soon. Well, that is what you get for pushing a girl.